Welcome back. State Senator Tom Davis has joined me, and there is a lot to discuss, so let's get right to it. First off, what is the status of the Jasper Port?
Well, it's in flux right now. The permitting process is continuing. The tension is between the Jasper Port, and then on the one side, the Savannah Port, and the other side, the Charleston Port. And the timing of the Jasper Port has been in regard to when is capacity in Savannah and Charleston going to be exhausted. Savannah says it's going to need the Jasper Port by 2028. Charleston says it doesn't need it until 2035. And there's some reluctance right now on Georgia's part to rely upon Jasper to meet its 2028 needs because South Carolina, its partner, won't need the capacity until 7 years later. So what I'm doing, along with my delegation members, is taking steps to convince Georgia that even though Charleston says it doesn't need the Jasper Port until 2035, that it can still count on the port being ready in 2028. And the way we can do that is to appropriate funds in the state budget to pay for the infrastructure that's going to be necessary to support the Jasper Port. So right now, the delegation members and I, along with the governor, are working on getting the infrastructure appropriations ready for Jasper to show Georgia that it can rely upon it being ready in 2028.
Okay, very good. And so let's switch gears a little bit, and we're going to go to Hilton Head. And what's the process for getting the bridges taken care of there?
Sure. Well, I mean, right now, it's dependent upon a referendum in November passing. The way it works in regard to large state capital projects, and this is a state bridge and a state project, is that any project of that size, and this one's going to be about $250 million, depends upon the locals coming up with about a 1/3 of that cost. The State Infrastructure Bank won't finance state projects unless the locals have some skin in the game. So we need to figure out some way locally to come up with 1/3 of that replacement cost for those bridges. And this November, one way we can go about making that match is to have a 1 cent sales tax imposed until the $80 or $90 million is raised to cover the local governments or the local constituents 1/3 total of that state project. So we'll see how the November referendum goes. If that referendum is approved and we can demonstrate to the State Infrastructure Bank that we, in fact, are going to raise about $80 to $90 million, I think our chances of getting the remaining money from the State Infrastructure Bank are very good.
Okay, excellent. And were there some changes, big changes at the school board or the county with the school board, and that is our new superintendent. How are you feeling about Dr. Herman Berg?
I like him. I met him last week, and we sat down for about an hour and talked about his credentials and what his background was. And he's a bit of a turnaround specialist, coming into troubled situations and getting things set straight and then moving on. And I think that's what his plan is here, to stay here for a year and a half. And I think that's a very healthy way to look at this. I'm also very encouraged by the number of contested races that we have for the school board this November. There's going to be a fresh turnover, and I think new members on the school board, a new superintendent. So I think it's going to be a new day for the school board. And I think that's what the people of Beaufort County deserve.
And I think that's what they want. I think it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to it myself.
And I think everybody in Beaufort County wants our school system to succeed. We understand how important that is. And I think a fresh start, turning the page, new superintendent, new school board members, I think this is all very positive.
You too. And so in the last, we've got about 20 seconds. I know you want to touch on real quickly the latest in regard to the SCE&G debacle.
Right. I mean, right now, what's looming is whether or not the Public Service Commission will approve the offer by Dominion to merge with SCE&G. And Dominion right now is still wanting SCE&G customers to pay an 11% debt surcharge for the next 40 years to pay the bad debt for the nuclear facility. The General Assembly said that only about 3% debt surcharge is warranted, given the failure of SCE&G officials to disclose the condition of the project. So I think somewhere in the middle, hopefully closer to 3%. But I suspect that at the end of the day, the PSC is probably going to approve the merger. The amount of the debt surcharge, though, has to be low. I mean, it's completely unfair to pass off to ratepayers, payments for bad debt.
Right. Agreed. Well, there is always so much to discuss, and thank you for being with us. We hope to see you again soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.